I don't think you're going to get a loan for a while.
Right.
So I wouldn't even be worried about buying right now.
Believe it or not, I make a lot more than my managers do.
The next 18 months, you are probably going to go through a pretty rough real estate start. Welcome to the first ever financial audit from Meet Kevin. We've got Phil here. Thank you so much for joining us.
We're
going to talk a lot about you and your situation. Very excited about that. This is the first time we're actually doing this. So I'm a licensed financial advisor for the purposes of this video. This video will be financial advice. It will be actual financial advice solely from me with two additional commentaries here from Mike and McKay. Mikey, we prefer Mikey. But anyway, welcome aboard. Thank you so much, Phil, for coming out here. Tell us about yourself. What are your goals, man? Where do we start?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So my name's Phil. I'm a registered nurse in Columbus, Ohio. Go Buckeyes. I make about 110 to 130K a year as a registered nurse, and I am a brand new real estate agent as well. Just got my license in June. I'm a 5-course member of yours truly.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. I think you had brought your badge too, that you came to the New York Stock Exchange. Yes, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that, by the way. It means he's in the profit portal, so he gets access to all of it. You look at that. Yeah. That is so cool. So I'm glad to be able to break down your situation. How much do you work a week? I mean, you're in your scrubs now. It's like, I just got off work, man. Coming over. You know?
Gotta grind. Yeah. It varies. Honestly, as an RN, I probably put in like 30 to 40 hours a week. But it's only because I'm trying to expand other avenues. Okay. So I could ramp that up to like 50, 60, 70 hour weeks. I make, right now, I'm manipulating kind of the crap out of the hospital. And I make like 105, 110 an hour.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome, man.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, we can dive deeper into that here in a minute. But right now I'm trying to scale up my real estate portfolio. I currently own a condo and a duplex. I guess to give a little bit more of a background about me, I started investing in Apple when the iPhone first came out, and I just threw every penny in there, and I became an investing addict. During undergrad, I graduated pretty much without any debt. I was fortunate enough to have some financial assistance from my parents. But after that, I was only making like 33 grand a year from ages, we'll call it 21 to 26. During that time period, I actually lived in a frat house. I lived there for free because they needed a house dad.
Hell yeah. Like, see, I mean, like, give me any responsibility. I just want to live here for free. I think that's great.
Right. So when I went to grad school, I went to the nursing route. I basically lived there for free. And, you know, that's something for anybody else out there trying to think of like cheaper ways to save on housing. Look into student organizations that need a live-in advisor. And you can save some money there. So
nice.
After nursing school, I started working as a nurse. My mom got cancer. We thought she was going to die there for a second, but we're all good there. In fact, tomorrow is her 5-year anniversary of surgery, so cancer-free.
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats.
Right.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Because, wasn't it the odds of remission declined over time? Eh?
Yes, dramatically. So, but because of that, we thought she was going to die. So we put her condo in my name because her cancer diagnosis occurred literally in the transition of her moving from Chicago to Columbus. So I technically own her house. She gifted me the mortgage payment, the down payment. And we just put the mortgage and everything in my name because we assumed that she was going to pass. So rather than have the hairiness of it all, of probate and all that stuff. So we put it in my name. Thankfully, she's still alive. So like great news there.
Awesome.
But that kind of leads to one of the questions I have for you is, and we can go a little bit farther into that as well. I have a duplex. I'm house hacking, got some grant money. Everything's working out good there. But technically, my mom is gifting me the mortgage every month from a tax.
Because she's renting in the condo, essentially.
Correct.
Okay.
So she's not paying me rent, but rather she's gifting me the money. And according to my accountant, that's like the most tax efficient way of doing things because you don't have to declare it as income or anything along those lines. So one of the big questions I have for you guys, and like I said, we can go into that a little bit farther, is I'm trying to grow my real estate portfolio, but I do have her condo kind of weighing me down from a debt to income perspective.
Because you're getting a gift, you're not getting income.
Right.
There's a double-edged sword of that.
Right.
You don't pay taxes, you don't get to call it income.
Right. Good old Uncle Sam trying to take his cut, So, but yeah, when I bought the duplex, I used grant funds.
I want to ask you about that. Just even for the audience, I think this is very interesting. Tell me about these grant funds, because people forget that there's free money available to buy places. So you bought a duplex using grant money?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So my employer had this down payment assistance program where if you bought within a certain vicinity of the hospital, they would grant you money towards the down payment of your house. It was up to $15,000, so I maxed that out. Which was really nice because it served as 5% of the total acquisition of the property. So then I only had to come up with 10%. I just heard Fannie and Freddie adjust the duplex down payment requirements from 15 down to 5.
Yep.
But when I bought it, it was 15. Right. So I had to come up with the other 10%, in which case I utilized my Roth. I had a lot of profits in my Roth, used 10K, as well as the contributions that I made throughout the years. So between
those out tax-free, great.
Yep. So, but yeah, the grant money I got from my employer. So, I mean, there's definitely programs out there for people who have like a W-2 type of situation. Sometimes the employer provides grant money. But also, as I've done a little bit more research, I know in Ohio, there's grant money for nurses and doctors. It's called Grant for Grads. But there are just tons of, like, you could Google grant money. And I would encourage, and you could certainly give your, input on that, is like anything that would apply to you, whether like new grad, Google that, nurse, graduate, nurse, Google that, doctor,
That's a great suggestion. I mean, not only Googling that, but then throw your county in there, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Ventura County down payment assistance, or whatever county you're in, or nursing down payment assistance, doctor, whatever it might be, student. I think that's a great suggestion for individuals, and it's great you took advantage of that. Maybe our boss can do that. Like if you buy, within a mile or whatever. That'd be cool. Yeah, we should do that. That's a really good idea. It gets everyone close. Yeah. Ooh, nice. See, that's the other. See, that's actually brilliant for the employer.
My bike to work. Yeah.
So now when the hospital wants to, hey, you got time to pick up another shift or whatever? Well, you're only a minute away. You know?
Right. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Actually.
And with the shift work, it's they're so desperate for work right now that it's literally I could go in.
Is it still that way? Is it still so high demand? Has it gotten better?
It is. It's still high demand. Is it peak demand? I wouldn't say that. And to be honest with you, hospitals have begun to like shut down rooms. So because we don't have enough staff, they've begun to cut the quality, quantity versus quantity.
Yeah.
So they've decided to kind of close hospital rooms, and ultimately the people that suffer there are the sick people.
Well, yeah, of course. It's longer waits. Is what it turns into.
I mean, 3, 4, 5, 6 day waits in the ER.
Are you serious?
Wow. Yes,
it's not even
I've seen
functional.
that. I've seen. No, it's a mess.
Yeah,
it's a total mess.
You got to go somewhere else.
Yeah,
then you got to get somewhere else.
And like, I don't want to tell you which employer I work at, but you can deduce.
Yeah, sure.
But we are the best hospital in Columbus.
Wow.
And so even if you've got like a 3-day wait at our place, 2-day wait at our place, where are you going?
Yeah, interesting. Are urgent cares the same way?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I don't have access to that kind of like waiting room data. So I would definitely encourage people that if they could, like, PSA, if you can go to an urgent center, go there. Because the hospitals are pretty full.
Wow, that's wild. That is wild. So, okay, now, one of the things you mentioned is expand other avenues. Is that your real estate agent goal? Tell me about that a little bit. Where did that come from? Just because you're house hacking now?
Sure. So I bought my duplex right before the pandemic.
Good job.
Thank you. I got lucky. There was a wedge deal component. I probably made like 20, 30K of initial equity.
Nice.
So nothing crazy, but
hey, it's still like 10%.
Plus the down payment assistance program and So
that's also part of the wedge. I mean, it's free money. And you could any resale restrictions on this?
No.
Or,
yes. Technically, I have to live there for 5 years, but then it's a 0%. If whatever component I don't live is a 0% interest loan.
Well, you're 3 years into it.
4.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, because you bought it even before. Okay,
so
you're almost done.
Yeah. Right,
it's great. Okay.
So that's kind of cool. And then I took advantage of the EIDL. That's actually where I found you.
Wow.
Was April of 2020 because you were putting out like stimulus package videos left and right. And those were the videos I was just like, well, what can I take advantage of?
Exactly.
And I'm not going to lie, as a healthcare worker during the pandemic, I thought they were going to throw us a little extra. Nothing ever kind of came.
The hero's pay was supposed to come.
Never did. In which case, I've got my own conspiracy as far as why that we can perhaps go down to some hot takes. But if you guys want.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so and then I took mortgage forbearance as well.
Sure.
Also, kudos to you. So thank you for that.
Yeah, totally.
So I knew that I was going to grow my real estate portfolio at some point. So I figured, well, I could get my real estate agent's license on the side.
Okay.
The position that I'm in now is I have access to like 1,000 nurses and doctors.
Right.
And I'm kind of known now as the finance real estate enthusiast within the hospital. So retirement planning, all that stuff. Hashtag not financial advice. Like I've got an economics degree as well.
Perfect. Jeez.
So people kind of know me as the real estate and financial whiz. So I have access to those 1,000 nurses and doctors. So I was wondering if perhaps, what do you guys think if I should kind of put my nursing career kind of on the back burner and accelerate my real estate agent, keeping in mind that I make like $105 an hour.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a bad situation there. Or do you think I should just kind of refer it out?
How long have you had your license so far?
June.
So you just got your license. So congratulations, you got a license in the worst possible time ever.
Cheers.
Now, the good news is if you can sell during this kind of time, when we get to that next bull cycle, you'll be raking in the dough.
Yeah.
This is a very difficult time. So in a situation like this, as actual financial advice, there's no way I would walk away from what you're making, this $110,000, $130,000 a year in this environment.
Sure.
We have no idea how long this real estate bleed lasts. The beautiful thing is you're working 30, 40 hours a week, man.
Right.
Do you have kids?
No.
Okay. So, and I want to be clear for the viewer. I don't know anything about Phil other than what he's telling you in this video. So I want to be clear. I haven't gone through anything from you on purpose because I want to ask the questions here and hear you answer them. So you're working 30, 40 hours a week. You don't have kids. You're in a relationship?
Yes.
Okay. How long?
4.25 years.
Okay. So
Nice.
you're probably past the initial like honeymoon phase, right? Good. Okay, great. And what does the other person do?
Natalie, she is in marketing.
Okay.
She was in real estate marketing, ironically.
Oh, nice.
Coincidentally
Work
enough.
from home then?
Now she works for marketing for like pharmaceutical, like pharmaceutical style marketing.
Like new drugs or whatever.
Sort of. It's more to like get in front of the like physicians' eyes or healthcare providers.
How do you close that appointment with a physician?
Right. So ironically, apparently, I think I'm on a couple of her lists because she'll like can look through like marketing targets. So it's kind of ironic.
That's awesome. Okay, got it. So how many hours a week is she working?
She's got a work from home type of situation. 30, 40.
Yeah, also about the same.
50 for
for whoever's watching, 50, right. 60, otherwise 20. Yeah, okay, good. So, I mean, you have free time. The beautiful thing is you could do both.
Yeah.
There's no reason you can't hustle in real estate without having to give up that art. Personally, I would look at, and it depends on how you're feeling, but you could pick up these extra shifts and probably get to 45, 50 hours at our end.
It's this lovely situation where I could put,
exactly.
You know,
you have the luxury.
Yeah.
I have a question. In terms of your ceiling as a nurse, do you think this is the most income you can make as a nurse, or is there more certifications or more things that you can do? Because the threshold from going from 0 to 100K in real estate will be a lot harder than going, I don't know the nursing route, but getting a little bit of extra income as being a nurse. Like, what's the limit in terms of being a nurse?
I am pretty much like maxed out on all the certs.
That's a good question,
At this point, it's really just you put the time in, you get the paycheck.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
that makes sense.
I know, and I'm not exaggerating, I know a guy who cleared 500K as a nurse. Now, granted,
anesthesiology?
No, just as a floor nurse.
Wow.
Like,
how?
Just killed himself with hours?
Bingo.
There's no way though. I mean, but if you're working 40 hours and you're making 110, even at overtime, there's no way you're getting to 500 unless you're...
I mean, he was doing like 5, 6, 7, 12s a week.
Holy smokes.
Sometimes even 16s, which is the legal limit. You're allowed to do 16-hour days in the healthcare world.
I'm sure the care is like really high quality, you know, at the end.
Yeah.
Caffeine consumption all-time high.
Yeah.
Besides income, what other like benefits do you get as an RN?
Well, like I said, I'm making like 105, 110 an hour. I've basically completely foregone all medical benefits. Like I'm purely a mercenary at the hospital.
Are you a contractor then?
No, I still
You're W-2.
Technically,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Although technically, so I'm only required to work 16 hours a month.
Right.
And it's called PRN, or as needed in the medical world.
Okay.
So I'm only required to work 16 hours a month. Now I'm also not guaranteed anything. So if there is a dry spell, like let's say they hire a bunch of travel nurses, which is kind of where we are right now. The hospital that I work at has brought in a decent amount of travel nurses.
But that's got to be more expensive for them.
Probably similar pay.
Similar, okay.
I make more than a travel nurse.
Oh,
a lot of travel nurses don't think like that. Like they think travel nursing makes the most.
Yeah. That's the impression that people have.
It is, but being in, perhaps it's just my hospital that kind of made a little oopsie doopsie as far as calculating what should we pay our internal staff.
Right. Okay.
But perhaps, I don't know. The contract's in place for another 2 years though. So I've got this, what I like to call desperate pay, at my disposal for the next year and a half, 2 years. But yeah, I completely, like, I don't get medical benefits. I don't get anything. I do get like a 401k match type of situation.
Like 3% or something.
Actually, it's this. Here's another hint. If anybody knows the Ohio well, I have to put 10% in, and then it gets matched at 12%.
Oh, that's great.
So it's a 10-12 match.
That's great.
And I opted out of the pension for an alternative retirement plan of like a 401k kind of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't really get anything. I just get pure cash.
What happens after this 1.5 years? Is it contract renewal where your pay might go down substantially, or what happens after?
Yeah. So this incentive pay is the technical term for it. That is through the summer of 25, which basically says if you work above your contracted hours, you get an additional $40 an hour.
Oh, wow.
At peak, it was an additional $70 an hour.
Wow.
So what I said is like, well, I demand to be demoted then. So I got demoted down to 16 hours a month, which is minimum hours.
Yeah, and now you get the bonus on more hours.
Right. Every hour I work above 16 is getting paid out. And
that's why you said you manipulated I mean, you just did what was smart. Here are the options. What do you want to say?
Right.
How do you want to play it?
Right.
There you go.
And then on top of that, you get overtime, time and a half, weekends, all that stuff.
That makes sense.
So it essentially, at peak, it was like 3.5xing your income by demoting yourself. Now it's closer to like 2.5.
Okay.
So after this time period, I would be down to, I don't think that they're going to get rid of this program just because of supply and demand. There's such a labor shortage in healthcare. So afterwards, let's say they do get rid of that, then I'm probably looking at a standard RN salary, which in Columbus, Ohio, you're probably talking like
80 to 100?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the risk is maybe that extra 20-30% basically.
Yeah.
What I mean, do you like what you do? Do you like this? Are you over it, or are you exhausted? Both? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, burnout. It's being a nurse is awesome, right? But at the same time, you do kind of open yourself up, and it can kind of wear you down a little bit, stress you out. Yeah, it's not that I like dislike what I do. But it's also one of those things where it's like, I definitely don't think I could do this for the next 40 years.
Yeah, and that's fair. Yeah, well, the nice thing is you probably wouldn't have to, because I like where you're going with this idea of, your econ background and real estate agent. The way to do that, though, the time to transition, I think, is when you're in that upswing market, that bull cycle, where you start getting those clients now. Maybe you do open houses. It's fun. It's exciting. You also, at the same time, you keep building your portfolio. Hey, if you can get your hands onto another property, great. Now you're not only the guy who's talking about it, but you're actually doing it, which is great. And then tell all the people you're working with, oh, I'm closing on this other property, and look at the before and afters, whatever. Hey, I want to do that too. It's almost like you're marketing by doing it.
Right.
Or talk about it at open houses. That's what I used to do. I'd have an open house when I was a new agent, and I'd put up like before and after pictures.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, what's that? And I'm like, oh, I'm glad you asked.
Right.
Right. So the cool thing is, you can play, as you say, the pedal game now, where maybe you do 2 shifts. You're working 24 hours. What are you on, 12s? Or
Well,
eights?
that's fours. I can basically
4-hour shifts?
Think of it Legos. I could stack as many 4-hour blocks as I want in a given day, up to 16, which is the legal limit.
Okay. Why would you ever do a 4? I mean, just getting into that mindset.
Sure.
Like you may as well do the 8, no?
It's called the princess shift.
Okay.
So you basically just get in, you kind of do your thing, and you get out. It's real quick. Sometimes that's all that's available, right? Like,
okay.
So you get what
That makes sense.
So
Take what you can get kind of thing. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And the only reason why I've probably been doing 30 to 40 hours is because I've been getting my real estate license. I've been getting affiliated with Keller Williams,
Nice.
kind of onboarding there. Like I said, historically, I probably do to like 50 or 40 to 50 hours.
Sure.
And so that's where
It takes time to get set up. That's
Right,
awesome. Okay,
right.
so you're setting up the side hustle. You got licensed in June, so that means now you probably have your business cards. You've got
Yeah.
things already. Okay, all right, that's
you one.
exciting. Yeah, absolutely. And you have a tenant that you're also house hacking with. What's the scoop with the tenant? Do you manage the property? I'm
Yes,
guessing.
yes.
Okay, and then your mom is living in the property where she's gifting you the mortgage.
Correct, the condo.
Okay. All right. So what about this? Your debt to income then. So what's your payment on the condo?
Sure. The condo is $1,070 a month.
Okay.
There is an HOA of like $250 to $300, but my mom's been paying that. Like she's kind of just taking care of that.
Okay.
So my portion of the mortgage is $1,070.
That's principal and interest.
Correct, and insurance.
And insurance. Okay, got it. And what about property taxes?
That's built in there.
Built in. That's
Yep.
your PITI.
Yep,
Got it.
PITI,
Okay,
yep.
great. And then, so what's that worth if you were to rent it out? Because that's $1,320 total. Plus some repairs, a couple $100 here or whatever.
Yeah. So if it was like a non-family member,
yeah.
right. You're probably talking like 23.
Oh wow. Okay.
100 a month.
Oh, that's great. Well, it totally makes sense for your mom to be renting this for gifting you the payment. In other words,
Right. And like I said, like
it was hers.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
it totally makes sense.
Right.
What about your second unit in the duplex, and what's your payment on the duplex?
Sure. So for the entire building, it's $1,911 a month. Mortgage payment is, and that's PITI.
Okay.
They are paying $1,750 a month.
Wow.
Very
good.
Yeah, and I mean there was so it was a wedge on multiple fronts.
Yeah.
It was a wedge in that the the previous owner actually lived out in California. And he was renting it from afar, so he had no idea what was happening in the
Disaster.
market, right? And I noticed I've lived in this area for the last 12 years, right? And you've got what's called the short north, which is where like the bars, restaurants is, and then you got campus, right? And then the piece of land in between, like the mile long, used to be a little sketch, for lack of better words.
Sure.
And so just over time, these land masses kind of like grew together, right? So I bought like right in the middle because I'd lived there for so long. I saw the merging of the two.
You saw the progression.
Right.
You knew what was going on,
Right.
and you felt comfortable living there.
Yeah. So that's where I bought that and why I bought that. So it was the rents were under rented, and the side that I ended up living on, literally the kitchen cabinets were like falling off the wall. Like there was definitely some little love that needed to be thrown into it. So plus the down payment assistance and all that other stuff. So for me, it was a good deal all the way around. But anyway, they rent from me from $1,750. Mortgage is $1,900. My site's a little bit nicer than theirs just because I've lived in it, had some more time to it. So the entire building would probably rent for like $36, $37 with
nice.
a mortgage of $19. I've also hardwired the Wi-Fi into it. So that way,
Ran some Ethernet and that. Yeah.
right,
Okay.
right. I live on the one side, so YouTube TV, I buy it and I share it with them. So that's a tax write-off too, because that's part of the living here.
There you go. Yeah.
So
Service provided by the building. Exactly.
right.
Yeah. Okay. So now your tax returns the last 2 years. What have you declared as your adjusted gross income?
that, let me see.
Yeah,
I've got my tax filings with me.
Okay. Okay. So we just took a quick little pause and we just took a glance at your 2021-22 tax returns. In 21, it looked like you had income from wages, salaries, tips, basically your job, $76K, $90K in 22 here. The downside that you have is that the payments that you're making on these two properties combined is about $38,700 a year.
Okay.
And on top of that, you're getting about $1,750 in rent, so you're getting about $21K back. But you're going to get diluted on that. We'll run some numbers here. So you mentioned that right now you can make 110 to 130 per year. Is that just the difference of hours?
No. I do make the. I wonder if it's because of like depreciation write-off, because the duplex, it required me to put in like $50K worth of renovations and stuff like that. So that would impact the AGI, would it not?
Yeah. So I was just looking here. Let me see.
That's 22.
Let me look at it here. So on 22, I have, let's see here, total amount from your W-2 of the $91,000, and then you have the rental loss essentially of the $11,000. That's where you're going to get your depreciation, your mortgage interest deduction, all that. That comes from your Schedule E. And then in the 21 filing, your wages before your adjusted gross income is just number 1. It's page 3 on your 2021, for example. It shows your W-2 at 76.6. So those are probably where, if you've gone to a lender and you've said, imagine you've gone to a lender and you've said, hey, like I want to qualify for a rental or whatever. They're going to look at those two numbers. And in your case, you have an increasing number, which is great. They could take that 91,000 and that 76,000. And because you're W-2, they're not even going to average these out. They're just going to go, okay, well, it's increasing. Let's assume you can keep doing that if your pay stubs are reflecting that. They're going to say you've got $91,000 of income. So $91,000 of income, to be able to qualify with all your other debts, probably going to be no more than about a 45% debt to income ratio. Yeah, which gets you to payments of up to about $41,000. $41,000 is what you're able to make payments on, and you've got total payments already of about $38,700, offset by that additional rent. Right? Sure. So the additional rent, if we add that in. Let's throw in 21,000. Give me 1 sec. We'll do some quick math on that.
That additional rent coming from my mom, or the half of my half of the duplex of 75%?
Your half of the duplex. Okay. So your mom's payment to you is zero. Correct. You're not getting any of that. Correct. So now we're looking at, you've got maybe qualifying income that'll get you to a 45% debt to income ratio of about $50,000. Yeah. So that's only leaving you the ability to qualify for about $1,000 a month. Okay. So the only way to really qualify for something with the numbers here is if it was $1,000 a month, or it was like really cash flowing, right? You know, but you could buy anything if it's really cash flowing. But today with a loan, nothing's cash flowing at 8%. Right. So, and that's because everybody expects rates are going to come down and the market will go back up and whatever.
And what I let me interject real quick. Please. There was a substantial pay raise at the end of 21, which is why there's
sweet.
Right.
So that's how you got that 76. Oh, that's perfect.
Correct. And I'll be honest, there was a time period where they, like I said, lowered the pay from an extra 70 an hour down to 40. Yeah. So I took like a 3-month sabbatical.
Hell yeah.
And that's when I started working on my real estate agent license. And I'm like, all right, well, if you're going to take away my money, I'm going to take away my labor, and I'm then going to start building alternative things.
Yeah. And that's, see, it like probably the 110 to 130 is if that's all you're doing is that 40 hours a week, it's no time off, but that's not a fun life anyway, right? Sure.
And I mean, I was just off for the last 3 months. And
that's exactly, because you're getting your real estate license, you're starting another business here, and all of that's fine. The question now is, how do we make it easier to qualify for another deal? And that's the challenge. So the easiest way and where you're going to get the most leverage is if you can move again, right? Yeah. What about cash? What kind of cash do you have and other investments do you have?
Sure. So just to give some quick stats, net worth is like 650.
Nice.
I've got about 550 in the stock market.
Okay. That's really good. Wow. So most of it is actually in the stock market.
Well, I mean, there's like I've got student loans. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
I've got about 550 in the stock market.
Oh, those are grad school ones because you graduated one of them debt free.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
And actually, we won't go into that.
Oh no.
In my retirement accounts, I've got about 275. In non-retirement, I've got 268. Margin debt, I've got minus 87K at 7.25. Good old M1 finance.
They make it too easy.
Right? And yeah. I've got HELOC debt at minus 98 at 8.81. And student loans at minus 44 at 3.4. with the monthly of $315.
Are you already making that payment on the student loan?
Oh yeah, it's private.
Okay, yeah. So
yeah.
you didn't have the forbearance as long anyway.
No. So if I sold everything and paid off my margin, paid off my HELOC, kept my student loans, if I did all of that, I'd have 83 grand in cash plus 98,000 HELOC equity or a credit line that I could tap into if possible.
Right, exactly. Wow. So the question right now is maybe what is the rush for you in your situation to buy something right now?
Sure. So Columbus, Ohio has that Intel plant. Okay. I know we've talked.
You want to speculate on Intel?
Well, a little bit. It's a $20 billion plant. Google and Amazon are thrown in a couple plants in that area as well. I've got some photos if we want to check out on the map.
Yeah, please. Let's see it.
I have the maps that you drew on right here if you want those.
Sure. So let's do the C-Bus, OSU and Intel.
Got that.
So
all right.
The let's see.
Go ahead and put that up on screen if we can there, Christian. There we go.
All right. So the blue dot is generally where I live.
Okay.
OSU's the red circle.
That's like Airbnb where you're like, oh, it's going to be generally where this dot is.
right.
Halfway across the city.
And Intel is going up in that corner, right? Just underneath Intel, in fact, if we wanted to open up the C-Bus future developments.
Okay, so let's tab away there for a sec, Christian. There we go. C-Bus future
the ABCDE?
No, we could do that third.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. Okay. Nice.
Forgive my drawing skills.
No, it's great.
All right. So Columbus is obviously the dead center. The red line is a rumored outer belt highway system. The blue line is a rumored high-speed rail to Chicago. And then everything in black is approved already in the works, right? So Intel is going in that top right corner. Amazon's underneath it. Google is underneath that, hence the need for that rumored outer belt. And then Honda is building a $4 billion EV battery plant down where it is written. So that's just to kind of give a little layout of Columbus. It's growing like wildfire. It's expected to double in the next 20 to 30 years, its population. So that's one of the reasons is Intel is supposed to kind of get done in the next couple of years building that chip fab. So I kind of want to get in sooner rather than later because I do fear that everybody of our generation basically went to college and I feel like there's a lack of tradesmen. So I'm concerned that the supply of housing just is, the supply and demand ratio is the demand's going to shoot up because of all this development. The supply is tight because, well, supply is tight everywhere. So that's one of the reasons why I want to get in sooner rather than later. As far as the last map that I had drawn, we could deep dive into that a little bit more if you wanted. It's a little bit more zoomed in, but it's basically a rough ABCD
rating of the neighborhoods,
correct,
so to speak. Yeah.
My personal interpretation.
Throw that one up there, Christian. I mean, I like that. I do the same thing too. It's great. Yeah.
So
not to be confused with the class system in commercial real estate, where it's based on age. This is based on where do you not want to go to do a Craigslist transaction at night.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
Okay.
So the orange star is the Intel plant.
Okay.
The two red dots are basically like the main shopping districts. And the yellow highlights is either Ohio State or downtown. Downtown has all the sports facilities. So like any sort of NHL game or anything like that, any concerts, Taylor Swift, whatever, is going in the yellow zones. So as far as the letter scheme, anything in yellow has good schools. Anything with the green text is less favorable schools. But there are some, and S is the super fancy, so S is highest, F is lowest. But yeah, so if it's got green lettering, it's probably not got the best schools. So if you're in an S green, you're probably doing private schools. If you're in an A yellow, the public schools are great. So that's how to kind of read my drawing.
Nice. That's awesome. Now, one of the reasons you're a little anxious is because of population growth. So you had mentioned it's expected to double in Columbus?
Yeah, the next 20 to 30 years.
So over the last 20 years in Columbus, it's gone up about 35%. So is it because of this rail that you had suggested, or what's their reason for that?
Sure.
That kind of doubling?
Christian,
we can pull off that one. Thank you for that.
So Columbus is kind of like the city in Ohio. I'm from Cleveland originally and love it, but it's Cleveland.
Okay.
Cincinnati.
Was that where you were from? Where you went to school, Christian? Dayton. Okay, where's that?
Southwest corner of Ohio.
Oh, gotcha.
And with no offense to Dayton either.
He doesn't like Dayton.
Yeah. Dayton, Akron.
You don't like it either.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Enough said.
Screw
Got it.
Cincinnati.
Okay.
But
I've heard that one too.
Ohio State is a massive pull. We're pulling in 20 young people on an annual basis, or 20,000 young people on an annual basis. Maybe it's not quite that much, but there's a lot of young talent coming to Columbus.
Yeah.
There's a lot of headquarters there, limited brands, Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah.
JP Morgan's got a regional campus. So there's just a lot of people, or a lot of businesses that kind of draw that kind of attention. And like I said, Amazon, Google, now Intel, they're throwing a lot of money into the Columbus area. So I don't know if other cities like to brag about their investments and kind of status, but it's called like the Silicon Heartland or something, and there's this expectation that Columbus is going to be kind of really bumping.
And what fears do you have about the real estate market over the next few years?
So obviously we have the interest rates skyrocketing, and that's going to put a real crimp on demand. Whether the influx of supply is there or not, I don't really know. So that's my kind of like biggest fears. I guess there is I don't want to say a FOMO element to what I'm doing, but
there is.
I want to get in sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Because like I said, Intel and all these other companies. In addition, Ohio State is building a brand new hospital. And so like there's going to be more jobs coming in and all that other stuff. So
okay. So you like it there. You're not planning on leaving anytime soon.
I mean, I could be persuaded.
Okay.
You got a job?
There you go. That's awesome. So, well, that's, going back to job, that's actually what I wanted to hit on, because right now you've got, outside the real estate debt, do you have car debt?
No.
Okay.
I drive a beater.
Good for you. So you've got $229,000 in other debt, though. That's HELOC, student loan margin. And right now you are making, it'd probably take about 2.5 years if you took every penny of your income and no taxes to pay that off. If you only used your actual income as opposed to rating your retirement account, which is about $268, which you could use, like you said.
The retirement is $275. The non-retirement is $268.
Yes,
so yeah,
sorry.
If I sold all of my positions, I would be left with $83 cash.
Right.
No debt, with the exception of the student loans, and $98K of HELOC available.
Right. So the question then is, let's say theoretically you even did that. You liquidated this $268 to get rid of the $229 in debt. Even in that scenario, you are still in a situation where your debt to income is not going to let you qualify.
Right.
Because I didn't even consider, well, first of all, your margin debt's not going to show up in your DTI, but the HELOC debt will, unless you included that in the total monthly payments you gave me.
I did not, but the idea would be that I would wipe.
Right. That would be paid off. Right. But even if your HELOC and your student loan were paid off, which both of those are hitting you on your debt to income, I still am only getting you to being able to basically afford $1,000 a month.
Okay.
So the way to now the flip side is you're going to be able to move out of that duplex, right?
Sure.
So you could move out of that duplex, and now you have that rental income coming from the other side.
Correct.
That's going to get whittled down. Maybe that's going to bump you up to where you can qualify for, say, $2,000 a month. Okay. Maybe you can squeeze it and buy something like in that scenario, right? $2,000 a month. What can you buy? How much do you want to spend on a place?
I mean, I'm totally okay with dropping $500, $600, $700 on like a single family, and I understand like
not with $2,000
right,
a month.
Right.
Yeah.
I get that. Now, real quick, that $2,000 is that assuming that we keep my mom's condo as a gift?
Yes.
Okay, so if we converted that to a rental, and that is one of the questions.
Where's she gonna go?
Well, no. I'm saying that this is, I guess, one of the questions I have is keep my mom in the house, turn it into a rental, and then my mom's the tenant. Right now, I wouldn't obviously evict her or anything along those lines, but from a like renting, like to get that money on my income. Is that a thing? Is that possible?
Of course. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you could just, when you receive it, you just declare it as rental income, right? But I don't imagine you're going to ask your mom to pay market rent. Right. So even if this boosts your qualifying ability to the tune of $600 a month, now it puts you about $2,600 a month, right?
Yeah.
So $2,600 a month, I mean, you're going to be, what is that even going to get you a $400,000 place, a loan right now? And a $400,000 loan is going to get you a $3,000 a month payment at the rates where they are now, right?
Sure.
The point of where I'm going with this is I think you actually have a really interesting opportunity and you have an ambition around real estate. But one of the things that you can do is leverage your enthusiasm for real estate now. Get as many clients as you can. Okay. And let's get you that extra income first if we can. While you're milking this RN job, why don't we start taking every commission check, and every commission check you're lopping it off on your debt. Right away, right? Start with your HELOC. Because the cool thing about paying off your HELOC right away is you could pull it right back out. You know, you pay, or same thing with your margin debt, actually, whichever, you know, whichever one gives you the flexibility or the higher, I think the higher interest rate was actually your HELOC. And you could always move from your HELOC into your margin quickly for whatever reason you needed to. You know, usually margin's pretty scary, but you've got plenty of funds here. Are these both at the same a broker, the retirement account, the non-retirement accounts?
No, it's a little bit.
Either way, there's plenty of time to move funds around, and I don't think you're knocking on the door of a margin call. What are the underlying positions in the non-retirement account?
Good old Tesla.
Okay. Well, that is volatile. But honestly, even if that went half,
I mean, my portfolio would have to drop. Currently, that portfolio is about 200K, or excuse me, that account is 200K. It would have to drop an additional 65K before a margin call gets triggered.
Earnings are tomorrow, so
earnings. Buckle up, baby.
Turn your phone off tomorrow.
Actually, what happened was where the HELOC debt came from was back in August through January. I basically pulled equity out of my duplex, and I just DCA'd 25K a month on red days, where it was like severely red from August to January.
Well, that's great because your basis on those trades was probably like 150 or something like that.
Right. And so that's another thing is I'm intentionally waiting because my 1 year cap gains line is coming up in 2-3 months. So
nice. Yeah, I would say what excites me a lot is your motivation for real estate, and I'd say let's start like squeezing that lemon. Now it's a very hard time to do that because it's hard to find people to buy. The people who are able to buy and willing to buy right now have larger incomes. You happen to be around a lot of those people though, doctors and anesthesiologists, nurses. The other thing that you can do at the same time, and I wanted to ask this earlier, but I forgot, is can you become an anesthesiologist nurse and probably triple your income, right?
So there is, here's another fun fact for anybody interested looking to get into the healthcare world, specifically the nursing side of things. The money's at the bedside because just to be honest, it's the trenches, you know? So nobody wants to be in the trenches, right? So supply and demand of like, well, believe it or not, I make a lot more than my managers do. And like the director position, like the money's at the bedside. Now, as far as CRNA school, that would probably take 2 to 3 years. And they do make good money. They make the high hundreds, maybe low 200s as far as a CRNA. But the problem with that is you're looking at tuition. You're probably talking $100,000 at tuition.
Wow.
And there's the opportunity cost of every hour you are a student is 1 less hour I'm a nurse. Right. And so, like I said, with 105, 110 an hour, right now I'm only doing like 30 to 40 hours a week. But like I could put that pedal to that metal. So I could out earn a CRNA. Granted, that is the short term, like I don't know how long that bacon is going to be there.
Do you want to have children in the future too?
Yeah. So I'm hoping to kind of grow the real estate portfolio a little bit while like, so right now the money's good, right? And I'm trying to leverage my situation where I'm kind of manipulating the hospital a little bit to kind of benefit from the fact that I've had these higher earnings. Use that to qualify for more real estate than perhaps I would have otherwise. Is that a little risky? Yeah, sure, but
well, I don't actually think it would be risky for you to take that advantage and put the pedal to the metal and take as much money as you can, especially while you're under this higher contract. Because the next 18 months, you are probably going to go through a pretty rough real estate start. It's going to be very, very difficult. And that's not to demotivate you. It's just that, like I said, if you can if you can even get 1 or 2 deals done and you take that money and pay off, some of the loans or whatever, that's just going to open up your doors to being able to qualify and get into a good deal. And I don't anticipate the real estate market, at least from what I'm seeing, is going to run away from you.
Sure.
I think you've got a couple years here to do some good buying. We feel that way with HouseHack as well. We don't want to say no to opportunities, but we're a little more aggressive now where we're, hey, an opportunity comes up, our offers are a little lower just because of what we're seeing in the market at this time. There's a little bit more risk. Now, the nice thing about that is it gives you time. And how old are you?
33.
33. So right now you have the luxury of time. Sure. And when do you want to have children ideally? Whenever it happens.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So you have this luxury of time right now where you don't have children, where you could throw in essentially what you would be doing is working 2 jobs, right? You're working the real estate job to try to get clients, which the best way to do that, you're doing the open houses, you're getting yourself out there, you're talking to people at your work. It's kind of like you're working the same job twice, right? Sure. One's marketing, the other one's it.
Right.
And see what you can do in real estate, because there is also the downside risk of, okay, well, if we don't sell anything in real estate and then your contract goes away, you don't want to be in a place where you've got now even more debt because you got into another property. And then what if, is something to think about, what if real estate prices go down 3% this year, 3% next year, 3% next year, and you have that bleed?
Sure.
Now it's like, crap. Now, so I don't know that I want to set you up in this place where in 3 years, 4 years, you're going to be like, crap, now I haven't paid down any of this debt, but I have another place next to Intel and I'm upside down on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the other thing that makes me a little nervous is you did mention that some of these projects, the highway, the high-speed rail, they're rumored projects. Sure. Right? Don't bet on the government. Right. Never bet on the government. It ain't coming. It ain't coming.
Just like the healthcare extra pay.
Yeah. The Heroes Act. I think there was the Heroes, and then the I don't know. There were so many of them. The Nancy Pelosi plans.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So okay. So I like the idea of where you are. I let me clarify this. I don't love the idea of taking your stocks. Mm-hmm. And in dumping them to pay off your debts. I would much prefer you have that sort of anchored. Like, don't even think about where those capital gains are. Just let it sit. Let that be like your safety net. Yeah. Now just work your butt off and pay off those debts.
Okay.
And when you get closer, you could always talk to a lender about this to see the actual detail. But when you get closer, you could always switch your mom to, okay, now I'm calling this rent, right? As opposed to a gift, because that is just about the gift limit, $13,000 or so for the year. So you guys have that perfectly worked out.
Right. It's not an accident that worked out that way.
Yeah. So now the other thing is when you move, I suspect you're living in a duplex now. What is it, like a 2-in-1?
2 1.5.
Yeah. So you and your girlfriend, then fiance, girlfriend. I imagine you probably want to move into that $500,000-$600,000 house you're talking about for you to live in, right?
No, it would be
it would be a rental.
Yeah, eventually.
Okay.
And so with that map of Columbus, one of the questions would be, even though the Intel area is getting a massive investment and infusion of cash from all of these different firms, I would like to live closer to Ohio State. Hint, hint, that's where I work. I guess that's cat's out of the bag there.
It makes sense to be close to where you work, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's also like an S. Granted, it's a green S.
Yeah.
So bad schools.
Sure.
But the proximity to the hospital is insane. Yeah. I already ride my bike to work. It'd be nice to be even closer so I can stack those 4-hour blocks as much as I can. But also, and one of the things that I think I have a relatively unique perspective on is the state of the healthcare system, like I said, is not the greatest. I think travel nurses are really going to be, I don't want to say overutilized, but continue to be highly utilized.
Don't tell me midterm rentals.
There is, to use Ohio State as an example, we are basically doubling the amount of rooms that we have. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful hospital. It's going to be great. But we already could benefit by having more staff. Mm-hmm. And so we are already kind of tapped out on the ability that we can find home staff. So we've got a lot of travel nurses coming in, right? And so with this new hospital, the doubling of the rooms, you're not going to see a doubling of the travel RNs. It's going to be an exponential, right? Because we've already got as many staff that's willing to stay has already stayed, right? So right now, and I'm just creating a number out of thin air, right now if our staff is 20%, then what's going to happen is we're not going to stay at 20%. It's probably going to get 40% as travel staff or 50% as travel staff. So I think there's going to be a higher demand for real estate close to the hospital for that reason. But also, if you're doubling the home staff, let's just say, now there's twice as many doctors and nurses that want to live close to work and stuff like that. So I felt
What's the risk, though, of people saying, I can make 50% more money moving to California and I'm done with Ohio?
I mean, that's a real thing. Okay. In fact, my little brother, his girlfriend's a nurse out here. So shout out to, well, I don't know if she wants to say. So
sure. To her.
Right, shout out to her. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely the real possibility of that. But with that, if there is an exodus to, say, people from Ohio wanting to go to California, that just then creates even more demand for travel nurses, because if we're short-staffed, then the influx.
He's an econ major. You got the stats on everything, man. You got the stats on everything. I am a little concerned that your laser is a little like.
I need to focus.
It's this, yeah.
Yeah, a little ADD.
I have an opinion, but what do you guys think?
I think you're never wrong to double down on income, especially when the DTI is already a little tight. I mean, that's kind of where my mindset is: work as hard as you can, increase the DTI, because like Kevin's
lower your destination, increase your income.
Increase your income, because Kevin's always like, the real estate market's not going anywhere. There's always going to be an opportunity somewhere. The wedge deals are never going to run out. Make as much money as you can.
Not in our lifetime, at least. They're not going to run out. Yeah. What about you?
Quick question: what was your margin debt again?
87K at
in the rate, yeah.
725.
Yeah, 725. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with McKay. Like, if it was me, I would definitely double down on work. That's good income. The hours they're there if you want to take them. You can only make better relationships with all the basically potential tenants over there. And from what I've learned from Kevin, doctors and nurses tend to pay their rent on time. So that's definitely a safe bet. There's no harm in doubling down on the hours right now, especially since you don't have a family, you don't have like all these other obligations. Like, now is the time to grind it out at work, and you can still do the real estate stuff on top of that.
And I think when it's not like what we want to hear, right? It's like, crap, like I'm tired of my job. Sure. But we want to turn this like job into like your marketing opportunity for your real estate agent business, right?
Right.
So, every pillow gets a little business card slid under it.
Well, actually, I did think about that. And I think it'd be a smidge unethical from
you got to be careful. No. I'm joking about that. You got to be careful about the marketing to the poor people who are like in a hospital getting help. It's like, oh, look, this person's in the ICU. Let me try it. Need to sell your home quick.
But if you have them in your pocket,
no, don't even go there. No, to your clients. Stay away, or not the clients. Your coworkers and that. Exactly. Stay away from the clients. So my thinking though is the laser perspective for you is you have an opportunity to do both. You have an opportunity to make a lot of money at your job. You have an opportunity to do to become a real estate agent, or at least try that. And the real estate agent biz could absolutely take off for you, right? Like, let's say within the next year, you're like, Kevin, I just closed my 10th deal. Mm-hmm. I'm up $100,000. I just halved my debt. It's like, okay, now you're on this path where you're not going to be a nurse for more than the next like 2 or 3 years, right?
Right.
So I would make my number one laser focus being that real estate agent. And at the same time, what could I do to make sure I'm putting enough work in at my orange shift? I'm not saying no to too many shifts to where I'm still getting that income coming in. So the way you balance that is, what's a real estate agent doing who doesn't have deals on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday? Almost nothing. If you don't have deals, there's almost nothing going on during the week. You get them on the weekend. So take off for broker tour during the week, which might be a Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever. Meet the agents. That's good. Dress up in the suit, meet the agents. You got your card, shake hands, smile. Great. Then do the open houses on the weekend. So dedicate that time on the weekend, 1 to 4, whatever you do in your area, 12 to 3. Do your open houses, get your name out there. Then go have fun with your girlfriend. Friday night, Saturday night, like you could still have a life.
Sure.
You could do both of these and still have a really fun life. Make sure you don't skimp out on that though. That's a big red flag is when people only work and they don't, get to go have drinks or Diet Cokes in your case, with their friends or family.
Coke with Kevin.
Yeah, Coke with Kevin. Exactly. Right.
Diet Coke.
Yeah,
Of course.
Diet Coke,
Right.
yeah.
So you can do this, and I think you have I believe the personality to do sales.
Totally,
You
yeah.
could do sales.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
for sure.
Well, I've also
he has
thought
a
about-
crush.
I've also thought about going into like pharmaceutical sales.
Yeah, dude,
and-
the freaking laser, man, it keeps getting thinner. And thinner. Right. Pick
I mean,
one.
At that point, I would forego the RN life into the pharmaceutical sales life.
Right. I would not get rid of RN until you had another consistent income that was at least what you're making as an RN, if not more.
Yeah.
For example, I look at when I was a college student, I became a real estate agent, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll try doing real estate. And my thought was, well, okay, by the time I'm done with college, I'm not making more than I could, being a manager at like a restaurant or something like that. Then maybe real estate isn't for me.
Yeah.
But by the time I was 4 years into real estate and I was making $150,000, $200,000, well, why would I take a $50K job at a restaurant? The same could be true for you. In 2 or 3 years or 4 years, you could be in a situation where you're like, look, I'm making $200K from real estate sales. I'm killing it. I own this place now. Well, not only you're going to get some of the best deals, but you're going to call us up and go, Kevin, we got some deals for HouseHack out here,
Right.
And look, there you got some client. Look, we could be a buyer for you, man.
Right.
Start sending us. That's what I would do is start sending
Absolutely.
deals to us.
If I was listening to this and wanted another source of income, I would start get a license and start finding deals for HouseHack. Easy.
Sure.
Because we have a very easy outline for what we're looking for.
Yeah.
But I also think something that is useful is having that metric of you can work at, if real estate right now is 0, your income right now, let's just easy say 100K. That's a metric that's like, okay, I just need to close X amount of deals to hit that 100K. It's an easy measuring stick to motivate yourself. And I think rather than just like a random number, it's like, as soon as I do this, then I can start to decrease my hours a little bit and you can start to kind of climb that staircase down.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now, but okay, I wrote down some of the things you said just so you could hear it yourself. There's pharma sales, there's midterm rentals, there's real estate agent, there's nursing, there's being a property manager, and there's being a stock investor. And then now on the side you do the economist work.
Who did
right?
I learn it from, Kev?
Yeah, I know I do a lot of things. The crazy thing, for me is I'm always trying to look at, okay, what's the laser, right?
Sure.
So and that's something that maybe isn't so obvious from the outside, but all of it points to one mission for what we're doing, and YouTube is part of that.
Sure.
So for our world, it makes a lot of sense, to make videos and what we're doing with HouseHack and others. It all contributes to one mission. I don't know how much us worrying about some of these other directions will do for us if we haven't fully explored one of them, right? And I would fully explore that real estate agent one.
Okay.
I think you're really into that. I mean, maybe you're not, and tell me if I'm wrong. It sounds to me like you really want to do this real estate business, huh?
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I think I would be good at it, and I think I've got the drive and motivation and work ethic to grind it out. I did my nursing degree in 1 year.
Let's go.
It's
Wow,
a
that's
bachelor's
awesome.
degree. Yeah. I mean, it was not fun, and but we can, if you want, we could talk about that as well. But it's one of those things where it's like, all right, a bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush, or whatever the expression is, where it's like, hey, I've got this $100 an hour gig, right? Or not gig, but job. And even though I do think potentially, 200, 300, 400 is not an unlofty goal to have in real estate sales, it's like, well, I can do that right now as an RN, right?
Well,
So
why don't you do that?
Oh, I am, but it's like right now I'm making like 110 to 130K a year for this year.
Okay.
And I took a couple months off. Me and my girlfriend we
Sure.
went down to Central America and had a good time.
Good for
and
you.
all that
That's
stuff.
awesome.
So, but it's one of those things where if I wanted to pedal to the metal on the RN, I could, right? But I got my real estate license. Like I am diversifying careers, if you will. And perhaps you're right. Maybe I do need to just laser in on one thing versus the other. So,
because I think your goal, as anybody's, is building wealth.
Sure.
And so you have you're like at these starting lines for many different ways you can run the race. The end of the race is the same. It's how can you get your hands on more properties? How can you buy, one rental every 2-3 years? You're already convinced in that. You know the path. You know the path is, you did it last year. Let me DCA a Tesla stock or whatever. Well, how can you build the assets that you have? You're killing that. You're doing a great job. You're 33. You're in a great place. You've got even just the experience that you have from what you're doing with real estate. This is fantastic with the duplex and house hacking and what you've gone through with stocks. Now the question is, how can we make sure that you don't reset, right? And at the same time, how can we get you reasonably into more properties? The thing that I want to make sure we are very clear about is, I don't think you're going to get a loan for a while.
Right.
So I wouldn't even be worried about buying right now, because if I couldn't get a loan, what's the point? I'm not going to get a hard money loan. No way. We were just outside. We were just looking at a guy. They bought a flip for like $679, and they listed it they bought it in June. They closed for it. They put it on for like $899, and they just dropped it like over $100,000, their listing price. And after their renovation costs, they're going to be negative.
Sure.
But I think what they're seeing is they're panicking because the winter is coming, and they're probably on a hard money loan.
Right.
With like a 3-month term, they're going to go bankrupt. It's like, no. So if there's no financing available and you're not paying cash, there's
a restriction there.
You're not buying anytime soon anyway. Right. Even if, as we ran the numbers, even if you pay off this debt, it doesn't change the debt to income numbers we did.
Right.
Even if you rented out your mom's place and considered that rent, it's going to get you $2,000 to $2,500 a month worth of qualifying. It's not going to get you what you're looking for at this point. Now, you can qualify the rents on the next one to some degree, 75% of it towards it. So maybe we can play a game here, maybe. But are we speculating then with 8.5% interest rates?
Right.
Is it better to say, let's see if I can, you proved it to yourself and got your nursing degree in a year. I bet you a year from now, you can prove it to yourself in real estate and nursing. And if you really want to get into some more of these assets, I wouldn't be surprised you can come back in a year and be like, Kevin, look what I was able to do.
Sure.
Look at the numbers I was able to pull.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Right.
And that's where you also have to make a choice. Like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep grinding? Or if you're burned out, like you were saying from nursing, then you ask yourself, okay, well, what's the rush? Then let's make money and put aside, $25K a year. Lop that off on the HELOC and the March. There's no rush to pay the HELOC off. You're not going to get called.
Right.
That's going to amortize out over 20 years. The student loan, you got $44K left on that. That'll go away over time. There is literally no rush for you to do anything. From what I'm gathering, I think you're just excited to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that I think there's like a time is of the essence component to it. Yeah. Like I am trying to get it done faster.
Yeah.
And that is one of the questions I brought with me is how can I snowball the real estate collection, if you will, faster, right?
Income.
Right.
Income.
Right.
The people who buy the most real estate have the most income.
Okay.
It's so simple.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
What else am I missing here? What am I not asking?
I don't think your ambition's the problem. I think you can do both.
You got the ambition. It's a laser.
I think
you're getting distracted, man.
Yeah. I mean, I do the same thing. I always like come to Kevin with like these small ideas, like focus on what will help you the long term, the best trajectory.
Yeah.
And I think you've brought the answers here yourself was real estate and nursing, and then just try to beat the game in real estate to get to where you are in nursing. Take both of those incomes and just go buy as many properties as you can for as long as you can.
Have you ever done the magnifying glass with the sun?
Oh yeah.
I never have.
Oh, I was a pyromaniac as a kid. Absolutely.
I just saw Jack doing that in the alley for the first time. And he's like, Dad, look, I'm making a fire. I'm like, what are you talking about? I look and it was like catching fire. I'm like, this is great.
Did I just see 5 fire extinguishers ordered on Amazon?
Yeah, exactly. What are these commercial grade fire extinguishers?
Triple checking you have homeowners insurance.
Yeah, like quick, agent, lower the deductibles. We're about to get a new house.
Oh gosh. Jack is plotting against you.
Or is he plotting for us?
Him to do it. Lauren's like, Jack, go play in the backyard with the magnifying
Go
glass.
play with fire, son. We need a new house.
Oh, no. Insurance agent, that is not true. That's just a joke.
But no, it's interesting because it just makes me think of that when you laser focus, then it's gonna go. It's gonna go, or you'll know. It's either gonna go or you'll know, right? You go laser focus hardcore on real estate this next year, and it's a hard time to do it. Even if you close a deal between now and then, it's probably actually great. And I mean, send us good deals all the time. You know, it'd be very interesting. We could look at your stuff too. And then if anything, at the very least you'd get is by sending us deals is you'll get the experience. You know, you're at an open house like, hey, I'm working with this, you know, institutional buyer and these are their parameters. You know, maybe you have slightly different parameters and I can help you here. What, like, that's going to help you build some kind of clout when you're at the open house and meeting people, talking to people. You don't have a problem talking to people.
Yeah.
And what am I missing?
Well, that was one of the things that I was trying to juggle most was maybe I just got hung up on like my mom's situation. Yeah. It's like, is that really anchoring down? Stuff like that. I don't mind working. I really don't. Yeah. You know, like going out and kind of paving the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was curious to see what you guys' thoughts and stuff like that was.
In the grand scheme of things, I don't think that $13,000 gift will make the difference between how many properties you can acquire. I think the biggest difference you can make is just by killing it in real estate.
It's $28,000 worth of income. That's what it's hitting you by.
Okay.
So in case you're wondering, it's $28K of income annually.
Okay.
Right. So you then ask yourself like, okay, well,
I can make that up as an RN.
Easy.
There's the answer.
And then you're still having your mom get like great deal and
you're building equity in it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so
free equity, free property.
Right. So the is there a way? So we bought the condo for $185. It's now worth about $285.
Okay.
I have not lived there, so I can't capitalize on any like homeowner occupied tax
exemptions.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
So is there a way that I could gift it back to her, considering there's $100K in equity? Is there any way that I could offload that back to her? Because like I said, it's basically her money, both as the down payment and
what's the loan balance?
Like $140.
I mean, you could just sell it to her for below market value, like whatever it was. I mean, if you sold it to her for $280 or what it's worth, I don't think she's going to go for that. Does she have income? Can she qualify?
Now she does.
Okay.
I don't know if she could qualify.
Yeah.
That would be the bigger problem.
I don't. You know, I think that the stress you're going to put on your mom for that $28K, it's not even worth it for you.
Right.
You know, that counter you're going to get. I don't know. I wouldn't touch that. And you've got equity there. It's like, if anything, she would want it back without the equity. So it's not like you're going to get the $100K out.
No matter when she passes. I mean, let's be honest here. We all have a shot clock that's going to expire at some point. So whenever that happens, it's going to be in mine anyway.
Unless you sold it back to her.
Correct. Well, even then.
Are you the only heir?
No, but
does she have a will?
Not yet, but that is on our
list. All right, first thing after this, holographic will, look it up in Ohio if that's possible.
Right.
Write one.
Right.
That was actually one of the things I wanted to hit on is earlier you mentioned the reason she transferred you to the property was to avoid probate. She needs a trust, man.
Right. So extremely long story short, I looked at her finances a few years back and I was just like, hey, you need to get out of Chicago. You can't afford to be here anymore. Right. She was spending alone like $1,300 a month in HOAs, just in HOAs.
The condos now.
Right. It was insane. So I'm like, you can't do that anymore. You need to move back to somewhere else. So she picked Columbus, right? And during that process, literally, we got in contract to sell out in Chicago. 4 days later, we got in contract to buy in Columbus. 3 days later, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Jeez,
right?
Lord.
Granted, it was a misdiagnosis. But, and I don't know if you guys are aware, but pancreatic cancer.
It's the worst.
Yeah, you're
That's
looking at
the
like
worst
a 2 to 4 month survival. So it's like, well, shit, my mom's going to die, right? So the options were you could stay in Chicago and she had crap insurance out there, or you can come to Columbus. We can easily prove that you were moving prior to any sort of disease, right? And then we can cherry pick the health insurance companies. We can get the very best health insurance and get you into the very best hospital, right? The James, shout out. So that was why we put it in my name, because she didn't have a job. So we used my paycheck to qualify for the mortgage. And since I kind of put myself out there, my mom was just like, well, let's just put everything in your name.
Got it. Okay.
So that's where like the background is there.
So at the very least, look up, see if holographic wills are legal in Ohio, but that literally means she could take out a piece of paper
right.
and just write down, you get a third, you get a third, whatever it is, right? However many heirs there are, whatever she wants, and just sign it, right? And scan that and have that. That you should have like now.
Right.
Like in 2 hours.
Sure.
You should have that,
right.
okay? Everybody watching this should have that. It doesn't even matter how old you are. Everybody should have one.
Not financial advice.
Yeah, well.
It's just life advice.
Yeah, life advice. Yeah, there you go. So, other than that, it probably is a good idea for her to look into a trust, right? That takes a little bit more effort to set up. Okay, so I don't know that at this point it makes sense to, because like we said, either way you sliced it on that condo, it's probably not
making a huge impact.
It's not going to make much of a difference at this point. Now, again, you can contribute if you want to buy another rental in the future. Great, you could put 25% down. But where's that 25% down going to come from right now? Because if you do 25% down plus fix up on a $500K property, you're going to be in at 175.
Right.
Now you're liquidating your stocks again.
Right.
And then are you doing that at 8.3% on the interest rates? Again, the qualifying problem. We got the other debt problem. We didn't even figure in the other debt. With the other debt you have right now, there's no way.
Right.
You would need to liquidate the stocks to have the down payment, but you need to liquidate the stocks to pay off the debt because otherwise you wouldn't qualify anyway.
Right.
Just you need more money right now.
Okay.
So like the next like 2 years, more money.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Right.
That's what our financial advice is going to end with every time.
more
Is
money.
like, you need more money.
Is your girlfriend working to work more hours? You said 30 to 40. Could she do like 40 to 50? Is that an option?
We've actually kind of talked about her like double dipping the work from home type of situation. She's also a dance teacher.
Wow.
So
That's really cool.
She was a Cavs girl.
Oh wow.
So that's cool.
Good for you, man.
Right.
That's awesome.
She's a good dancer.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
But yeah, so she was thinking about that. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's that component as well.
Yeah, I generally don't go there, like asking guys to ask the lady to work more.
Hey, babe, they asked. not me.
Yeah, exactly.
The harder you work now, the harder you chill later. That's
Right.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. So look, I'm excited for you. I think you've got a lot of good fires lit.
Yeah.
I think some of the fires I would just like, close the lid on for right now. You could always open it again in the future, like the medium-term rentals. If you wanted, like, pick either real estate or pharma sales. Pick one of those, right?
Yeah.
But make that decision and be done with it. Because the more you're in this purgatory of, well, I could do this, you're in analysis paralysis and you're not doing.
I'm frozen.
How many open houses have you held since June?
0.
Exactly.
Well, to be fair, I was out of the country for like 2 of those months. So
You chose to be gone.
to be honest, this I have not announced to the world that I've got my real estate agent.
Okay, so link down below. We're going to get your info and put it down below.
And my YouTube channel, Nurse Phil, if anybody wants to learn how to manipulate your shift work.
See, there you
Nurse
go.
Phil.
You can learn. That's great. Nurse Phil, I like that. So, you ever thought about being a doctor?
Yes.
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil.
That's
That
already
was- but that
trademarked.
was the school and
Yeah.
that was the tradition.
Yeah.
tuition.
No, that was the
That was the CRN.
the anesthesiologist.
Similar,
Same
yeah.
thing, probably. You're right. It's probably the same.
I at this point, given my credentials,
Not for you.
I would be better off going the CRNA route than the MD route.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And to be honest with you, unless you're going to be like a specialist, like a cardiologist, dermatologist,
Yeah.
something like that, honestly,
You're making more.
When they but also when they say like you shouldn't become a doctor for the money, they mean it because
Yeah.
you're bringing in $300,000 to student loans. I mean,
Interesting.
it's you're broke until you're like low 40s.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
How they all buy a watch right away? You need a Rolex, like mandatory.
right, and a 3 Series.
And how many hours a week is the CRNA school? Because it is like 2 or 3 years. It looks like.
I mean, that would be like a full-time situation.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Like 40, 50, 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
High
So,
opportunity cost.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that's where you ask yourself then, it's like, am I going to be able to make more with the real estate agent direction? Because you
Right.
might say in the future, like, oh, this is hands down for me as being a real estate agent, I'm going to make more than nursing. I get to transition into housing and real estate and that. Or you might say, it's not for me. I had a client and I hated it, right? And then you go, you know what, maybe I do want to be a CRNA. And then you could do those two.
Yeah.
Ideally, you do that before you have children.
Yeah.
It's when you work the 80 hours and then you have kids and stuff like that.
Right.
That's
Then
a fuse
life
that's
is-
not going to last long, and then
Sure.
you're miserable, and then then there's divorce and all this stuff that happens. It's terrible. Those things are all
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
So now's the time to burn, but you still have fun.
Right.
There are plenty of hours, man.
Yeah,
But we
right.
just did the math the other day. You could sleep 8 hours and have
112.
113.
112.
112,
We literally
is it?
just did the math
Did
on
you?
the way here because we figured we might talk about
Yeah,
that.
112 hours left, So you, obviously you need time to like eat eat and do stuff.
Shower, right.
Exactly, get ready for the day. But yeah, man, I'm excited for you. I bet in a year I know with certainty within a year, if you start doing these open houses, you really start putting yourself out there, you'll know if you like real estate or not.
Sure.
Get out there and start talking to people. That's a big deal. At the same time, get those shifts. But real estate, let's go like 25. Like 2025 winter at the very least.
The next property.
Like that would be a good goal.
Yeah.
The earliest I would even think about it, maybe you kill it over the next year. The earliest I would think about it, next winter.
Okay.
After the election.
Okay.
When everything's like cold and gloomy in Ohio.
Sure. Yeah,
that's when you strike. Okay.
Yeah.
And the benefit you'll actually have is you'll know, how bad are these wars going to get? How bad is inflation truly transitory?
Yeah.
What's the Fed's rate trajectory? Did something break and fall off a cliff, or is it just like slowly coming down? You'll know that by next winter. And I don't think Intel's going to get their crap together within the next year.
Or the railway. We've been waiting one for decades here in California.
Yeah. 1 year's not going to make a difference. Use this next year to really figure out your path, your laser.
Yeah.
Because right now you got 2 lasers.
Can I get a third?
No more lasers. No more lasers.
Should I become a mortgage lender? No.
Yeah, boy, yeah. I hated mortgages.
Did you?
Well, because the only value add that you have, I shouldn't say that, it's offensive to mortgage lenders, but like the biggest value add is your rate and terms. Because people, there's no loyalty. They just call you, go, what's your rate and terms? Okay, well, this guy's half a point cheaper, bye.
Sure.
And like this guy could be a scumbag and you could be the best salesperson ever, makes no difference.
Numbers
Real
don't lie.
estate agent,
Yeah.
people don't really care.
Right.
All the sellers are paying 2.5%, 2 to 2.5%. So the cost is the same basically, unless you get, a 1%er, but that's rare, like the discount agent. Not like the 1% like high income, like the 1%, like the opposite. It's like the anyway, and then what the buyers don't care because the seller's paying. So they love you. They're like, no, I don't care about the other piece. I just want to work with you.
Yeah, it's a people business and you're a people person clearly.
Yeah.
I try to be.
Yeah. And right now nobody's refinancing, lending. It's actually a great way to destroy repeat clients as a real estate agent because you get a client a great deal and then you get a mortgage and then the underwriter, you do the mortgage for them as well. People do that. Then the client's like, well, you screwed me on the rate or whatever. And then you lose them as a real estate client in the future. Yeah. It's not worth it, man. Make the 2.5% as an agent versus the 1% as a lender.
Is there any benefit, because you did it yourself, right?
Yeah.
Is there any, like, let's say I only was interested in acquiring properties for myself. Yeah. I could be my own real estate agent and be my own mortgage lender. Is there really a benefit there? No.
Zero. Okay. I don't even think that's allowed. I don't believe you can be your own mortgage lender. I don't think so. But it's also been like 7 years since I took my NMLS. Fair. And I let it expire because, let's put it this way. If that was a good deal, I would have done it for myself. And I didn't. So there's probably something there on that. No, the only reason I got my NMLS is because I could do small hard money loans for people. Okay. So I'd be like, hey, you should really paint this place and it's going to sell way faster. So it basically made my life easier to sell their property. So I'd lend them 10 grand. And I'd take a point. I'd take like 10 points on it. I'd take, $1,000 of an extra fee. And so all of a sudden I'm making my commission plus $1,000 and interest on the time the loan's outstanding. They sell faster. They sell for more money. I make more money. It was easy that way. I could close the listing deals. But it was all for the laser of close. See, that's the thing. It was the laser was focused on how could I close more real estate clients? Gotcha. Oh, that was a feather in the hat, so to speak.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I do know you mentioned that like, oh, well, you have 1 million lasers too. But what he said is actually right. Like, it does seem like he has a lot of lasers, but they all point back to one mission. And so it's a lot of different vehicles to get to the same mission.
Gotcha.
But,
I see.
Yeah.
Cool.
That'll make sense on the tombstone.
One day.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, good. Anything else? Good. Okay, great. So let me just mention that for the purposes of financial advice provided to you in this video, any recommendations here are provided based on the information that we received from Phil. No one should assume we have or recall if we have it, any of your background information. I know there were some documents that we pulled up. I looked at nothing other than your 2021 and 2022 tax return briefly for like 30 seconds. So therefore, the information that we provide here is just based on what we talked about. And I'm a big fan of you. I think you've got a great situation here, a great setup. And financial advice to you, laser focus.
Okay.
And then you're going to get into more real estate, but there's no rush.
Okay.
There's no rush.
Yeah.
So it's you're not going to like, I think you're thinking 2021, how real estate escaped you.
Yeah.
Right. It kind of escaped everyone.
Sure.
Not soon.
You think it's going to
Not
chill?
soon.
Yeah.
There's no, like, I can't guarantee it, but I could not give anybody that false sense of hope and say, here's financial advice, go YOLO into all this real estate right
Sure.
now. Yeah, no.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's cool. Thank you,
Yeah.
Phil.
Go check out Phil's channel in the link down below and your real estate business.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a real estate agent. Anybody interested? Well, clearly I should double down on the real estate side. And the Nurse Phil YouTube channel is how shift workers in particular, but really other people can kind of leverage their position to make more money from their job that they already have and hopefully maybe one day buy some real estate.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.